Groundhog Day is one of the most horrifying concepts ever put to screen. Even the goat of surrealism, David Lynch, once saw it and reportedly said, "Horrible! Take him away! Take him away!" Because who wants to live a life of mediocrity? Destined to wake up and do the same routine over and over? No one, right? For this reason, when a musician changes their sound, I don't like to immediately write it off as trend chasing or running out of ideas. I like to see it as experimentation. Unless you bought an 808 drum machine around 2017. I'm sorry, bro, but you had no chance. Now, I won't be talking about experimental artists who change their style with almost everything they release, like Zappa. I'd like to talk about his crazy genre shifts, but trying to catch up with Zappa is like trying to catch up with One Piece. And when you start throwing out experimental, ballet, and Tuvan throat singing in one sentence, well, I get the ick. So let's talk about it. The artists who change their style of music for better or worse.
Now I'm with SpongeBob, racing down the Autobahn while I'm in the backseat trying to fuck Megatron.
When a friend or colleague walks in with an absolutely atrocious fit, the right thing to do is take them aside and be honest. Sometimes an artist will make a one-off stylistic change that makes you question their sanity. And the next album by Kid Cudi is a genuine look into somebody losing their sanity.
I thought we were fucking friends!
Debuting with the gem, Man on the Moon, he failed to live up to that level of quality with each following release. Cutter was in a bad mental state around 2015, but delusions be damned, an album was still set to drop that year. He hyped it up by saying it was his pure, unfiltered emotional self. As release day came closer, he revealed that his fifth album, Speedin' Bullet to Heaven, would not be rap, but grunge. It may have been 20 years late, but I think Speedin' Bullet to Heaven is the worst grunge album of all time. In favor of beats, we have guitar tracks, if you can call it that. It's more like the same shitty riff for 3 minutes straight. I didn't think I'd ever call something annoying for being simple, but songs like Amen make me go insane by the end. In half the tracks he sounds possessed, and the other half he just moans and groans to the point where Chris Chan has more coherent songs. Cudi rips off Kurt Cobain's whole flow, not Nirvana, just Kurt. The songs sound like his creepy ass demo tapes, and he takes his cadence, including that weird squeal thing he does. And I hope you cleared your afternoon, because this album is a whopping hour and a half long. It's a whole movie. 18 tracks wasn't enough. This is a double album including 8 demo tapes. Calling these demos would imply the first half is finished, but honestly they just sound like more of the same. Except for the return of Chip Douglas. But by far the most baffling and brain-rot inclusion are the random Beavis and Butthead skits.
Tonight, we bring you the greatest album that has ever been made in the history of man.
That's just my opinion. Go ahead and cancel me. I don't care.
These add nothing. They aren't funny. They aren't cute. All it is Mike Judge coming on and being like, Beavis, this album kicks ass. It's probably supposed to parallel the original Beavis and Butthead skits where they watch MTV, but it just reads as Cudi sucking himself off for making a total steamer of an album.
Punk rock is not dead.
It sure isn't. Yeah. Word to Kurt.
You see, the irony in this statement is that Kurt probably would have admired Speeding Bullet to Heaven, not for the so-called resurrection of punk rock, rather the avant-garde and outsider qualities presented by such a mainstream artist. One can infer this as he listed his favorite band as being the Shags, infamous for being comprised of 3 non-musician sisters who were locked in a basement by their father and forced to play music for hours a day.
But I guess we'll never know. 2 tolerable songs are Fuchsia Butterflies, because it reminds me of a rap rock group that's actually good, Horror, and the title track, because it has a trip-hop feel that I kinda mess with. Cudi's previous stint into rock was a side project called Wizard, and it was also terrible. Knowing that, and the fact that he was as sane of a rapper as Space Ghost Perp, this was bound to be a disaster. Maybe this was a Saint Anger situation, where it had to be made in order to restore the natural order. Like, without this, we wouldn't have gotten Kids See Ghosts?
Nah, they just fucked up.
I gave my sermon an urban kick. My rhymes are fly, my beats are sick.
The next album is a complete 180 from Speedin' Bullet to Heaven. Instead, a rock star tries to go rap. It's the product of Dee Dee Ramone, the bassist and songwriter for the Ramones. In '87, he dipped his toes into the quickly growing hip-hop genre with the single Funky Man.
I'm a funky man, I got funky bones, I'm a funky man, my name is Dee Dee Ramone.
The bars this guy delivers with 100% sincerity is so goofy and lame that it wraps around to becoming genius. It feels like an old Mad TV skit. Something about the voice, something about the video. Just imagine Dee Dee was played by Steve Buscemi. Now, if this was a one-off thing, it would be legendary cringe Kino. But Dee Dee's rap career wasn't over. 2 years later, under the name Dee Dee King, he released a full-length hip-hop album, Standing in the Spotlight.
Time to rock. It's time to rap. It's time for the mashed potato.
You think NWA were the toughest group back then? Dee Dee King could have Ice Cube killed in 10 seconds. I'm almost certain he put this cover in because the original was made by Dee Dee Sharp. You see, there's like a name thing going on. This is the cool version. It's a weird album to label hip-hop because half the tracks are rock instrumentals and some of them just sound like Ramones songs. Hell, the song The Crusher got repurposed and put on a Ramones album. And the other tracks sound like the fucking Monster Mash. I think Dee Dee is too much of a nice guy to be an MC. I mean, he's literally too polite. Dude was still writing songs for the Ramones after he left, like Child Support. This album's conception took place after he got out of rehab, which implies that this is not the product of a 3-week bender. At the time, Warner Records gave him $25,000 to release something and said, "Have fun, kid." Basically, Standing in the Spotlight is a dude with a better outlook on life making something that he believes is genuinely cool. And that's based as fuck. But this album flopped hard and Dee Dee retired the rap persona. Before passing, he seemed to publicly disown it. "It wasn't so good anyway, the album. I couldn't do rap, I was trying. I don't know how. I'm not good enough to know. I'm not a Negro, I just can't do it." But the album lives on as a so bad it's good classic. And yet somehow he still wasn't the biggest cornball in early hip-hop. That would be...
I want candy, bubblegum and taffy. Skip to the sweet shop with my sweetheart Sandy.
Okay, so my Zoomer status is gonna show here, but I gotta ask. Did anyone actually listen to Vanilla Ice? I know there's some 90s kids in the audience who can answer that. Seriously though, was he ever cool or was that just a psyop built from the one song that gave him relevance? Oh, your song's in Mr. Popper's Penguins. Nice fucking career, bro. I'm only half joking because it seems he spent his career sucking the scum off of whatever the current thing was. In '94, he tried to take an edgy direction with the rise of East Coast and West Coast rap. His production shifted from pop to a rip-off of DJ Muggs. And for that, the album sounded like the inbred baby of Cypress Hill and House of Pain. After that flop, Vanilla Ice had to find a new trend to leech off of. When you're a white rapper in 1998, the only sensible choice is to take the Fred pill and go rap rock. Fittingly titled Hard to Swallow, this was produced by Ross Robinson, Yakub of nu metal. We also got Snot guitarist, Puddle of Mud bassist, Godsmack drummer, and Wes Borland's brother. Look, there is not a single original idea in this album. It's all the late 90s stank condensed into one more thing for moms to call demonic. Mr. Van Winkle screaming his sexual desires. Don't you know my cream is good for your health? A 5th-year Parkinson's patient having a blast on turntables. An extreme thirst for being edgy with stupid titles like The Horny Song and Fuck Me. To be fair, the instrumentals have some good riffs, with the first track Living being a standout. Like many of its kind, there are talented cooks in the kitchen, they're just too focused on making bologna sandwiches. There's a song on here called Stompin' Through the Bayou where the chorus is straight up robbed from Shout at the Devil. Okay, a new age spin on a classic. It's too bad that Motley Crue themselves already did that. There's nothing. The best nu metal bands got success because they all had something that made them stand out. And the ones who didn't have that could at least write a good hook. Hard to Swallow doesn't have good hooks or anything making it unique besides the man himself. Ice stayed close to rap rock for his next 2 releases, but it seems like he never fully committed. I'm not gonna confirm because honestly I'm not listening to that shit. I think if he just pulled a reverse Gwen Stefani and formed a side project, there may have been a modicum of chance for this to succeed. It would require them all to lock in, but it could happen. As for if this change was better, I'm inclined to say that it definitely was. For one reason. Hard to Swallow features the track Too Cold, the sick and twisted metal version of Ice Ice Baby. This shit somehow works 1,000 times better as campy butt rock than some overplayed relic of bad hip-hop music.
Ding 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 diggy ding ding. Ding 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 ding. That's the way theirs goes. Ours goes ding 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 diggy ding ding.
White people have this innate thing where they want to feel bad. I didn't own slaves, but I'm a weirdo.
Radiohead made their debut with Pablo Honey, an album that isn't looked back on with much praise or really looked back on at all.
What's that?
Because this came out when Radiohead was just another grunge band in the peak of grunge. So you've got a guitar and you want to kill yourself. 50 other losers just came in with the same pitch. For that reason, I'm out. Yeah, it wasn't groundbreaking, but there was one song off of Pablo Honey that managed to hit the charts. Creep. You know Creep, the chorus just played out in your mind. Creep is in the holy trinity of rock songs that have a generational chokehold on people. Simple, catchy, easy chord progression, a little too relatable. This song hit depressed teenagers like Alibaba vape carts. And I get it, it's alright. But it's not the apex of creativity. In fact, some people would call it shallow and pedantic. Radiohead certainly felt that way, and they quickly got sick of Creep. Probably because all their shows started looking like this. Their song My Iron Lung released a year after Pablo Honey, and it addressed that they felt that Creep and grunge were a waste of time. And you were stupid for listening to it. The iron lung metaphor is a perfect way to describe the situation. As much as it sucked, and no matter how bad they wanted to leave it behind, Creep was the only thing keeping the landlord from banging on the door with both arms. Their next two albums would start their dissociation from the alt-rock genre, starting with The Bends. And this cover is exactly how you should feel listening to it. It's more interesting musically. The opener Planet Telex shows off their new guitar effects, giving it a psychedelic kind of vibe. Not only that, the songwriting is just miles better. You get traditional rock songs like Just, but they also sprinkle in these melancholic acoustic ballads like High and Dry. There's actual emotion on display here. It's Pablo Honey without the melodrama. OK Computer went even harder in the artistic direction, going for a concept album about the dangers of getting complacent with the integration of technology. What a stupid hypothetical.
Don't touch your penis. Don't touch your penis.
The standout track here is Paranoid Android. It's like their equivalent of the Bohemian Rhapsody. A multi-act song this diverse in only 6 minutes is pretty damn impressive. But everyone and their terminally online little brother have already dissected this way better than I could. Music theory? Yeah, my music theory is that this represents peak Radiohead, and how they wanted to continuously push their own limits. But once you peak, you don't waste time chasing that high. You strap in and make some completely new shit like Kid A. This album was on an entirely different planet. Straight from the opening track, you realize something's off. There ain't no guitars in it. Instead, it's a somber, droning track made entirely with synths and Tom modulating his own voice. Excuse me, what is this beep boop shit? Is probably what some critics said when this came out, and honestly, that's understandable. It's quite the abstract release, but it plays to its strengths and makes something sick. I like the song The National Anthem because it holds this bass groove, but devolves into something that I like to call a jazz orchestra, but there's been a carbon monoxide leak. Somehow Tom took the phrase "I woke up sucking on a lemon" and made like 200 million people cry from it. He does it again. Over time, people came to appreciate it, and some praised it right off the rip, even spawning this infamous review by Pitchfork. The experience and emotions tied to listening to Kid A are like witnessing the stillborn birth of a child while simultaneously having the opportunity to see her play in the afterlife on IMAX.
Shut the fuck up!
Kid A showed that Radiohead wasn't afraid to alienate fan expectations if it meant that they could make some wacky shit. They work better as a band that continues to experiment, and I don't think fans would have it any other way. Because it's a hell of a lot better than the alternative.
What's
the dumbest music trend you can think of? Maybe it's those 2 years where everyone was obsessed with dubstep. Maybe all those shitty jam bands from the 70s where everyone is dressed up like a member of the Manson family. For me, the cringiest trend in music has to be hair metal. The era where rock stars dressed as prostitutes and screamed about their balls. Hair metal or glam or cock rock peaked in the 80s and pretty much stayed in the 80s. There are standout singles and even albums from this era, but most of it is forgettable. Many have come to realize the corniness of glam metal, and it's even spawned parody groups, like Steel Panther or motherfucking Rex Viper, the best 80s revival band ever. Glam happened and it wasn't all horrible, but styles that were more interesting and had way more potential would follow. I'm just glad the 90s came and erased glam out of existence. Bands like Pantera came and flipped the genre on its head with their unique style of groove metal on their debut album. Well, what do you mean they made music before that? What do you mean they looked like this? What? Before Cowboys from Hell, it was Cowboys from the Showers at Ram Ranch. If glam rock Pantera sounds like a bad idea to you, then congratulations, you are marginally smarter than a bloodhound. Founding member and guitarist Dimebag Darrell was a huge Kiss fan. The Kiss influence is laid on heavily in their early work, starting with their real debut, Metal Magic. First off, and secondly, they were missing their frontman Phil Anselmo. Instead, it's Terry Glaze on vocals. Glaze gets the job done as a glam singer, but honestly, he just sounds like a bored David Lee Roth. And honestly, bored Van Halen is how this whole thing sounds. Check the first track, Ride My Rocket. It also comes installed with a cheesy as hell synth intro. Yeah, that was the world's introduction to Pantera. Like, no, I don't think I need Pantera. I need this fucking fursuiter to stay 100 feet away from me. It's a paint-by-the-numbers 80s album. Type of shit old heads think should be played at the Super Bowl. Type of shit that plays at Home Depot when you're looking for an extremely specific size drill bit. Dimebag is still here and he shreds on every track, but other than that I see no reason to dig these three up, and neither does Pantera. When they brought in Phil on the fourth album, Power Metal, they gave up the glam lifestyle and none of these songs have been played live since. Phil's voice and attitude help sell the macho vibe that Pantera is known for. And when you get labeled as that kind of band, suddenly dressing like Tim Curry isn't cool anymore. Even with the Pantera revival, I wouldn't hold my breath for any mention of the glam material. They haven't even done as much as reprint the album since the 80s. And honestly, until they get rid of the Midwest Fur Fest attender here, I'm okay with it. Sorry to all the Terry Glazers on Suicide Watch, but this change was undeniably for the better.
'Cause you're old.
Man's biggest fear. Turning 30. The tipping point of growing the fuck up. Balding, lower metabolism. It's depressing growing up, but everyone's gotta do it. And many bands that started out with an immature genre have evolved with the times. We're talking pop punk, emo, metalcore. And one of these bands was Panic at the Disco, who started out as typical mid-2000s pop punk. Long-ass song names, smosh haircuts, and signed with Fueled by Ramen. The death row records of it not being a phase. They trended towards an indie sound on their sophomore album, but it was still well received. Despite what the Sgt. Pepper bullshit playing on the screen right now might tell you. Tragedy hit the Panic fandom in 2009. Band members and songwriters Ryan Ross and John Walker left, leaving creative direction in the hands of Brendan Urie. People like to joke that Panic at the Disco became Brendan Urie the band, but that's not far from the truth. Brendan shifted the project into pop, probably because there were more hot chicks and money involved. Each Panic release is more sterilized than the last, and Brendan took the brand building tactics like streaming on Twitch and becoming a Vine star.
My milk fix brings all the girls to the net, and they're like, it's making me wet.
The music became bland synth pop and his voice became super grating. The rule is, the newer the album, the more Brendan tries to hit the high notes. It's most notable on High Hopes, another inescapable radio anthem that's just really annoying. Complete with the auto-tune, it's a full frontal assault on my ears.
I don't want you to hurt my ear!
If you wanted to make pop music, then that's cool, but either get good or ditch the name. Panic never had any sort of return to form before splitting up in 2023, allegedly for creative differences. Brendan has threatened to return for When We Were Young 2025, but he's learned what the people really want. He's only going to play the first album, so all you millennials can get your giddies one last time before dying of old age. Settling with pop is like settling with the girl you kind of knew in high school. A safe bet, yet complete soul-sucking energy. To these bands' credit, it worked and they're laughing their way to the bank. Case in point, Fall Out Boy. Their first 3 albums may be mall emo slop, but fuck man, it's good slop. Infinity on High is a classic and my favorite. But you don't need self-harm scars down to your ankles to hear it's more on the pop side of pop punk. You wanna know how I know? Jay-Z feature. The puppet master of the Billboard Top 100. They also had guest producers, notably one on the single Thanks for the Memories. This song was very contemporary and it may have the catchiest hook of all time. Unsurprisingly, it got a lot of attention, even from Obama, man. The shit was played at the inauguration. I think the success of this song and the castration of youth culture led to them switching to pop on newer records like American Beauty. If I could somehow choke out an album, it would be this one. And that's because I got some personal beef with 3 songs. Centuries, Irresistible, and Uma Thurman. Now don't get me wrong, the whole album is cheeks. But these 3 are the epitome of those boring ass radio songs you think people would be sick of, but somehow have a billion plays. Tonally, they're the exact same songs, you know, that brand of triumphant arena pop. The music where its only purpose was to make you want to get up and move. Now, I'm not saying music needs to have time signatures that look like my blood pressure right now, but damn, the songwriting and lyrics are so basic, it's like listening to music condensed down to its most simple form. Remember, if you can't write a good hook, just use a falsetto chant. It's the worst kind of mid where you can't even enjoy your disgust. And if that's the case, usually you just move on with your life. But Big Radio is here to make sure you dwelled on it like that one girl you fumbled. People may describe this as coworker music, but I think that term is overused. It should be you and your coworker are going to hear this 8 times a day and on the way home music. Because this played everywhere, constantly. If you somehow never heard these, then you must have been cut off from society. The more you listen to them, the more flaws you begin to notice. The saturated vocals, the weak verses, the repetition. They have the complexity of hardtack, so the amount of exposure they got feels unfair. Because they're not acts of terrorism, they're just not interesting. Uma Thurman tries something different by sampling the Munsters theme. The surf rock and EDM vibes do not mix when you just haphazardly are switching between them. At least the pop culture vultures got their fix with that one. I personally am now sickened by the Munsters.
It doesn't matter what you look like. You can be tall or short, or fat or gay.
I scroll the comments for the uploads of these tracks and see a bunch of people nostalgic for them. Am I missing something? Now, I'm happy people have a song to connect to their childhoods, but like, there's gotta be a deeper connection here, man. Undertale? Oh.
It's a termination.
And despite all that, it too gets played at the inauguration. Joe, you fucking normie.
Let's rock.
I can get behind most genre changes even if it makes me seethe, like the crap that Fall Out Boy was making. Because what matters most is the vision. What's Andre 3000 of Outkast up to these days? Making Egyptian snake charming music. Well, it's well made. It's not my thing, but it's his thing. Most artists won't say it directly because it's career suicide, but I feel like they deserve a few fuck the fans moments. Projects like these serve that purpose. And yeah, you know what? If my fans were making shit like this, I would make a dubstep album. I'd make 10 of them.
I was not interested in being involved in the pregnant Fred Durst situation.